It was the best of times. It was the worst of times for the Florida Panthers and Panthers Nation last night. The ebb and flows of the Stanley Cup Finals was on full display, and man, was it an entertaining game. But unfortunately, the Panthers did not come out on top. What went wrong? What went right? What needs to be fixed and worked on so the Panthers can hopefully walk away with a Game 2 victory? We'll go over all of that right now on Panthers Digest. I am your host, Greg Andrews. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Hit that subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date with anything and everything that has to do with your defending Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers. So, a really hard loss last night for the Panthers. What a great game. What an incredible way to start off the Stanley Cup Finals. But, God, that one hurts, man. That hurts. There was a lot of uncharacteristic things the Panthers were doing, especially some of the players. Barkov had a couple of big turnovers and bad passes. Tkachuk did have an assist, but he just didn't seem like he was in his normal game mode of, kind of getting guys getting guys faces, talking a little bit of smack and trying to mouth off a little bit and get scrappy. He didn't seem to be doing that much. So a little bit of change, but the game was great back and forth. There was a lot of action, definitely more physical from the Oilers than it was from the Panthers, even though the hits were even at 51 apiece, which we'll get into a second. But the bigger hits were coming from the Oilers, and I think that really ended up getting in the heads of the Panthers. And the speed of Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, that whole team, I mean, hats off to those guys. Hats off to the Edmonton Oilers. I wouldn't say they critically outplayed the Panthers the whole game. It's a very even matchup, but they came through in the bigger moments and the Panthers took their foot off the gas. I think they lost sight of the team they were actually playing, because the thing they're going to have to realize, and I don't think it hit them until the score was tied and it was kind of too late, because I think all the momentum shifted really towards the Oilers when they tied the game at 3-3. I don't think they realized this is not the Carolina Hurricanes. This isn't the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're similar to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they're better. They're a deeper team with bigger star power than the Toronto Maple Leafs. But that doesn't say, I'm not saying that, hey, this is going to be an easy thing for the Oilers at all. I'm not saying that at all, guys. A lot of Oilers fans are commenting. They're celebrating like you guys just won the Stanley Cup. You won one game. It's a 7-game series. You got to win 4. Anything can happen right now. It's one game. It went to overtime, almost to 2, and we're going to get into what was the ultimate downfall of why the Panthers really did lose this game. There's actually 2 moments that I'm going to bring up here. But first, let's get right into everything. Winning formula goes missing in the Stanley Cup Finals Game 1 loss to the Oilers. Unfortunately, yes, I think the Oilers took a page out of the Panthers playbook in terms of being able to come back, persevere, fight through adversity, and they ended up coming away with the victory. One thing I need to state to you guys, that was the first loss for the Florida Panthers in the playoffs under head coach Paul Maurice, when the team has been winning after after period number 2. If the team was in the lead, that was their first loss last night. I think they're 29-1 now after leading after 2 periods in the playoffs under head coach Paul Maurice. But hey, it was going to happen sooner than later, and why not do it against a team like the Oilers? But yeah, they definitely got caught with their pants down, and they just took their foot off the gas. And I mean, man, there were some big hits happening in that game. I would say more towards the Panthers receiving it than dishing them out. I mean, Ekblad had a big one on him. I know Rodriguez got smashed up against the boards a lot. It was happening to Reinhart, even Barkov. There were some big hits against him. But yeah, like I said, the Panthers relaxed way too much when they had the lead, and they let everything slip away. They had it in hand. They could have really kept it going had they just not kind of looked towards the next game, I think is what they did. I don't think they saw this and they were like, all right, yeah, just going to be just like, last round of Eastern Conference Finals. It'll be like round number 1. And even round number 2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where there were some games where they just could have coasted a little bit. But that's not the team you're facing. This is a much better team than the Carolina Hurricanes, than the Lightning, similar to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Are they the same? No, they're better. They have more star power. 2 of the best players in the league, if not the 2 best players in the world right now. I mean, Connor McDavid makes the game look easy. It just comes to him. He skates beautifully. He handles the puck with just this ease of control, and he gets through people, and he's so fast. So fast. I mean, their team is quick, real quick, and their defense stepped up when they needed to in the right moments, and they started playing really well towards the end of that game. That's why I think in the third period, the Panthers only had 2 total shots, I believe, on goal, but the Panthers looked like they were running away with it in the second period. So let's get into the numbers. Totally outshot, 46-32. The Oilers had a majority of the better shots, but that's not safe to say that the Panthers didn't have their own. They had plenty of opportunities to put some by Skinner in that second period. 19 shots in total, only 1 goal to show for it. But hey, it is what it is. They lost. That's all we got to say. But even hits 51-51. I do like the job that the Panthers did in the faceoff circle at 56.4%. That's one of the reasons why they were able to set up their offense so well, and as well as kill off the penalties, except for that last one in overtime, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So this is one of the things I wanted to show you guys that a lot of people aren't really talking about, is the time on ice. Yes, I get it. There were 4 almost full periods of hockey that both teams played, but this is the difference between the Panthers, what happened there, and what the Oilers did, the coaching staff, in terms of the shifts. Look at the bottom of the defensemen for the Panthers. Jones, Ekblad, and Forsling were on the ice for 30 or more minutes. Aaron Ekblad had some really long shifts last night, and you could see it towards the end of the game, especially during the PK. All 3 of those guys during the penalty kill at the end of the overtime, everyone looked gassed. Even the guys, even the centermen, even the forwards looked tired. And you could see here, Barkov at 26 minutes and 44 seconds. Reinhart was on the ice for 29 minutes. I mean, they were, Maurice was pushing some guys. There's 3 guys there. That's that bottom line that each had single digits on the ice. So almost every single guy had 20 minutes or more, and the centermen, out of centermen and forwards on ice last night. That's a lot. That's a lot. So let's take a look at Edmonton. Look at the difference in the balance for the centermen, for the forwards. Yes, Connor McDavid, yes, Draisaitl are on there for a lot of time, but there's a reason why. They're their 2 best players on the team. And then their defense, the defensemen, look at that. One guy had 30 plus minutes on the ice. The rest of the guys are in the mid-20s, 26, 25 minutes. When you're playing 33 minutes of hockey in a game, your legs are done. You're burnt out, especially if you're getting beaten up. And Ekblad, like I said, he took a big shot from Evander Kane. I believe it was Evander Kane. And God, he just looked like he was just gassed at the end of that game. And we all know that Seth Jones can play. If he had to play 40 minutes, he'd play 40 minutes. But the team looked tired. They took their foot off the gas. I think they were looking past everything into game number 2, and they shot themselves in the foot. But none more so than what happened with 1:43 left in overtime when Thomas Nosek launched the puck, tried to clear it, and ended up lifting it out of play in their defensive third, getting a delay of game penalty. I mean, you technically, with what was happening with the Oilers kind of taking over the end of that overtime, you could feel it happening. The Panthers were getting kind of desperate just to launch it out of their zone. I mean, Nosek should just put it against the boards. And if it hits an Oiler player, you've still got some defensemen there, some buddies to help you out to hopefully stop another rush. And just, if they do keep it in your defensive third, so be it. But you lifted it out. You took a penalty, pretty much serving up the game on a silver platter to the Oilers, because they were starting to feel it. I think McDavid and Draisaitl knew that they were going to close that out, because when I saw that puck go over the boards and the refs were like, all right, penalty, I was like, it's over. Like, the game is done. With 1:43 seconds left, they're going to score. The Panthers look tired. They've pretty much given up in that game. Not really given up, but it just looked like they were just not the same team that we've seen that's persevered through the adversity that they've faced so many times. And it was the Oilers instead that did this. The Panthers got to get back to Panther hockey. They have to realize they are playing a phenomenal team. This is not what last year was. You are not on home ice advantage right now. We need to split these first 2 games so that way we get home ice advantage. because we don't play that great at home. If we're going to try to win this series, we got to win one of two. We have to. But I'm digressing. So let's keep moving forward. Again, that no sick, it was, that just hurt, man. That penalty, I think every single person that's a Panthers fan went, all right, that's pretty much going to be the game. And I think every Edmonton Oiler fan was like, all right, we got this in the bag. That's going to be it. It's going to be an easy win right now. And sure enough, it was. I mean, this is literally what every Panthers fan looked at. And we all just went, well, Draisaitl's wide open. What are you doing? Oh, my God. And here's the goal. Watch this. Draisaitl's wide open. The thing I can say is Draisaitl's ability and McDavid's ability to see the ice and let the play develop and let the game come to them. Draisaitl could have easily have jumped and tried to crash the net too early, which would put him, right in a bad spot because the defender would probably be in that passing lane. He waited and did a great job. So hats off to him, hats off to McDavid. But there's a reason why they're probably the two best players in the world right now, or probably the best tandem in the world right now in the NHL, in hockey in general. That was a great play by them. Hats off. But Bob still had a great game. Big saves. The one other turning point that I think happened besides the delay of game, which pretty much gave the Oilers the game, it was the slap shot that went under Bobrovsky's arm. He got a good piece of it. It slowed it down, but it still went into the net. And I think had he stopped that puck, the game would have gone the way of the Panthers. They would have won last night. It wouldn't have even gone to overtime, I believe. They would have won had he stopped the puck, but he didn't. I'm not going to say shoulda, woulda, coulda, because the game ended the way it did. The Panthers lost. The Oilers persevered. They were the ones that fought through the adversity, and they overcame a 3-1 deficit to beat the Panthers in Game 1, maintain home ice advantage. Game 2 is tomorrow night. It is going to be exciting, but I want to go over a couple of other things, at least some optimism before the episode ends. So these are the positives. This great pass to Marchand on the power play. Amazing. And then we had this great pass to Bennett on the stick, put it away, and then that shot from Verhaeghe that went off of Bennett's skate, where they thought, I mean, I don't know what you're doing as an Oilers coach, where you're like, well, it was interference. You're willing to risk a goal and putting your team on a penalty kill. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I love the fact that the booth was like, oh, it's not going to go in. It's not going to count. It's not going to count. I hated hearing like there was so much bias inside of that. In the beginning of the game, when they were doing the pregame, it sounded like they were all for the Panthers, and then it slowly switched during the game that they were just talking more and more about the Oilers, how they're persevering, how Connor McDavid's this, how Draisaitl is that, how they're doing this, they're more physical, they're this. I mean, they're calling the game as it is, but in those moments, it's like, oh yeah, it's not going to count. He got tripped. Bennett got tripped. The goal counted. Went off a skate. I mean, it's the way the game goes. Again, it's the ebb and flows of NHL hockey, especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. Exciting play. Great Game 1 for the Stanley Cup Finals. Great way to start the series. Unfortunate for the Panthers, but I think they're going to learn from their mistakes, as they always do. I think head coach Paul Maurice is going to have a sit down with these guys. They're going to go over the tape. They're going to discuss what are they going to do with their lines, if they're going to have any changes. Are they just going to change their matchups in terms of line 1 for the Panthers against line 2 for the Oilers? How are they going to mix and match things like that? Maybe change it up as they did in the series against Toronto. We will see what happens. I think we'll have a more definitive answer probably after tomorrow's morning skate, but we'll see. I'm not going to speculate. However, on another note, we're going to go over some graphics right now in terms of a couple of great quotes. Paul Maurice on the game last night. These games are tight. I don't think that you have to dominate in the third period in tight games. We were in pretty good shape at 3-1. I think we have some real good pressure. Yeah, good pressure. They get it back, and then there were some plays we didn't complete, and there was a bunch of them. Like I said, very uncharacteristic of the Panthers to not finish off big plays, uncharacteristically coughing up the puck, bad passes, not being able to clear it out of their defensive zone. A lot of things were a little uncharacteristic. And again, just taking the foot off the gas and not pressing, not being more aggressive on that forward check. The back checking, there were some issues there for some of the guys on defense. I think it'll all be fixed in game number 2. Okay? It's just the ebb and flows of the game, just like Paul Maurice says. And we have Brad Marchand. They just pushed. A couple pucks we didn't really get deep. Got to be a little bit better, making plays under pressure, getting our legs going a little bit more. We got caught just kind of flipping pucks, and they'd regroup and come back at us. That's exactly what happened. There were so many icings on the Panthers towards the end of that game. I think it's the fatigue factor. Like I said, I think the time on ice might have been too much for the Panthers. And I think the coaching staff needs to figure out a way to balance the TOI for a lot of these guys, especially the defenders, because the defensemen the defensemen, they have their work cut out for them in this series, going up against this high-powered offense that is the Edmonton Oilers in terms of getting in to on McDavid's head and getting into the head of Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, all these guys. They've got to find a way to knock them off their game. And then we have Sergei Bobrovsky. Sorry about the picture. They've got a good defense, so we knew that, and we knew that they had a good team. It's a good challenge for us. It was a tight game. I thought our guys, we did a great job defending. We had great kills in the first and second. I thought we were just, there were a lot of good things, and we just put it behind us and get ready for the next game. So I agree. I think everybody's going to agree that what needs to happen here is the team just needs to regroup, go back to what they've done for Panthers hockey. They need to be more physical, get bigger on those hits, aggressive forechecking. They need to really set up their defense when they're coming back. They cannot have these moments where they're coughing up the puck and giving it away to a team that has this much talent, that can control the puck and can skate so well and so fast. That is going to be the Achilles heel of this team. But they can persevere. They can, again, regroup, look at everything from a bigger picture standpoint going into game 2 and say, guys, we need to come out firing. Once we get the lead, we got to build on it, and we can't take our foot off the gas. I think they do need to be more physical. They have to. I don't think they were physical enough with the bigger hits. So we'll see what happens. Game number 2 is tomorrow night, guys. I cannot wait. This is going to be one heck of a series, but Oilers fans, do not start celebrating like you won it. 7-game series, you got to win 4, not 1, guys. Anything can happen. Just look at last year's series. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Greg Andrews. This is Panthers Digest. Don't forget to subscribe down below, like, comment, share. I really appreciate every single one of you for watching these videos. Have a wonderful Thursday. Tomorrow, big game number 2. I'll have another video for a little pregame talk. And we'll see what Paul Maurice ends up doing for morning skate tomorrow. If there's any changes for the lines, we'll also take a look at injury reports, a little bit of stat analysis. And yeah, man, we'll see what happens, guys. Go Panthers.